a hammer. The suspect pulled the hammer away from Mr. Pelosi and violently assaulted him with it. Our officers immediately tackled the suspect, disarmed him, took him into custody, requested emergency backup, and rendered medical aid. The suspect has been identified as 42-year-old David DePepe. Mr. Pelosi and Mr. DePepe were transported to a local hospital for treatment. This is an active investigation currently being led by the San Francisco Police Department Special Investigations Division. We are working closely with our partners from the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the U.S. Capitol Police, and our district attorney here in San Francisco County, DA Brooke Jenkins, and her team. The motive for this attack is still being determined. Mr. DePepe will be booked at the San Francisco County Jail on the following charges: attempted homicide, assault with a deadly weapon, elder abuse, burglary, and several other additional felonies. Before I go any further, I'd like to thank the responding officers for their swift action this morning. Those San Francisco police officers are Officer Colby Wilmus, Officer Kyle Cagney, and Sergeant Edmund Hoang. I'd also like to thank our emergency dispatcher, Heather Grimes, who's standing here to my left, for a really amazing job. For inquiries regarding Mr. Pelosi and his condition, we refer you to the statement issued by Speaker Pelosi's office this morning. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our District Attorney, Brooke Jenkins, for a few brief comments. And let me say in advance, this is what we know at this time. We will update you further, but we will not be able to take any questions after the statement.
Thank you, Chief Scott, and I do want to commend the San Francisco Police Department for their immediate response to this home and for swiftly making sure that Mr. Pelosi was okay and that the suspect was apprehended. We are working closely with them right now with respect to the investigation and will proceed with the appropriate charges as things unfold, as well as work with the U.S. Attorney's Office and our federal partners. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for being here. I know you may have, we'll update you when we get more.
Do you know how he got into the house?
That's it for right now. We're not going to take any questions. Thank you. Our office will be issuing a news release very soon, but that's it for now. Thank you.
All right, a news statement, not exactly a news conference, but the bare details of what transpired. Let's go to NBC News correspondent Tom Winter, who has been following this story closely for us. Tom, the chief made specific note that they have not determined a motive. What do we know about this suspect and why he may be in the residence?
That's correct, Lester. So the spelling on that suspect is David DePape, D-E-P-A-P-E. As the chief said, he's 42 years old. And what we've been told is that based on the preliminary information that's been gathered during the course of this investigation, which means that it is subject to change, it is early. But apparently this individual said, "Where is Nancy? Where is Nancy?" prior to the attack occurring. So that's what we've heard so far, according to two officials who've been briefed on the investigation and noted its preliminary nature. So we still need to gather more information. And then folks might be wondering, Lester, well, why is it that we don't know a motive if we know what this individual said? We don't know why they said what they said. We don't know why they were looking for the speaker, or presumably the reference to Nancy is to, of course, Speaker Nancy Pelosi. So that's information that we're trying to gather. Initial research about this individual seems to indicate that they are living in a transient community in the nearby Berkeley, California area, but we're still trying to gather more details on them and whether or not they had any previous contacts with law enforcement or any sort of a previous history of mental illness. Again, all details that not only are we trying to get, but presumably law enforcement as well. As you heard, Lester, being charged with attempted homicide, assault, elder abuse, and a host of other charges, and we expect more information on that later today, as well well as a press release shortly from the San Francisco Police Department. Listening to Chief Bill Scott, a former top commander at the LAPD, it appears at this point they don't want to go too much further into those statements, but certainly why this individual was there is going to be, of course, a significant concern given the ongoing political rhetoric and division that we have in this country. But I would also caution people that it is possible, given the initial information that we have about this individual, that they may not have a particular political ideology. They might have done this for other reasons, or might have done this because of a prior mental history. We just don't know. It's just too soon to say, Lester.
And Tom, the speaker was not at the residence when this happened, and we understand that Paul Pelosi did not have federal protective agents. Would that's standard as the spouse of a speaker?
That's exactly correct, Lester. So we know that spouses of members of Congress don't have that protective detail or detail at all that the Speaker would have. The Speaker, because of her position in Congress, does have a U.S. Capitol Police detail assigned to her. They are armed, so she does have security, but there's no indication that any spouse would have this type of security. Obviously, given the threats that we've seen to political leaders over the past several years and the increase in that violence and threats. We've had a shooting at a Capitol, rather a congressional softball practice. We've had a member of Congress shot, referring to Gabby Giffords, of course. Whether or not now there's more security that needs to be in place, not just for members of Congress, but their immediate family members, that's something that will be looked at in time, I'm sure. But at this point, there's no indication that there was any security there other than what anybody else might have at a normal residence.
All right, Tom Witter, thank you. We did not get an update on Paul Pelosi's condition. However, we were told to refer to the statement from the Speaker's office in which they said that he is expected to make a full recovery, again being treated at the hospital there in San Francisco. Let's bring in NBC News correspondent Jacob Ward. He is outside the Speaker's house in San Francisco. Is that neighborhood still considered a crime scene?
Well, Lester, at this hour, it is definitely blocked off. We have seen officers from the San Francisco Police Department going up and down the block, going in and out of the house, along with agents from the California office of the Capitol Police, as well as the Federal Bureau of Investigation. At this hour, we know that Paul Pelosi is in the care of Zuckerberg Hospital. That is the main trauma center in San Francisco. The extent of his injuries is not yet clear, but of course, reports there that you heard in the press conference that he was attacked with a hammer suggest that he was certainly injured. We know that much. And now the question is, just as we get into this investigation, who was this David DePape? What was his motivation? And the big question for neighbors here is, how is Paul Pelosi? We don't know how he is. They say he'll make a full recovery, but we don't know the extent of his injuries. You know, the other thing I'll point out here is that this is an affluent and heavily patrolled neighborhood of San Francisco, the Pacific Heights neighborhood. Speaking to neighbors around here, they say this is the kind of place where when somebody is acting suspicious on a street corner, they call the police right away. So not a place that experiences huge amounts of crime. And so that makes this attack inside their home all the more unusual and, of course, all the more horrible, Lester.
All right, Jacob Ward, thank you for that. That concludes our coverage. We'll have much more on all this tonight on NBC Nightly News and this afternoon on NBC News Daily on many of the NBC stations. For all of us here at NBC News, I'm Lester Holt in New York. Good day.
We are following breaking news out of San Francisco. The San Francisco Police Department Chief Bill Scott just made a brief statement to reporters, did not take any questions, to let us know what happened in the hammer attack on Paul Pelosi. He's the 82-year-old husband of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. She is third in line for the presidency. We are told that he was attacked by a 42-year-old man on a priority wellness call. We're going to go now, I think, to Ali Rafa, who is standing by for us at Capitol Hill.